Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Flowers Facts. In my last video, I mentioned that Eric's attorney sent me a form to fill out that would expose all of my financial information. This is confidential information that has no relevance to the case. Eric's attorney wants this information to know how much he can get out of us in the malicious prosecution lawsuit he and Eric have threatened me with. And Jay, whom I know this information would be forwarded to, would use it for an assessment of our vulnerabilities. For years, the police, and on one occasion Jay, have suggested that we seek a restraining order. Unfortunately, because of being so disillusioned with the system and overwhelmed with struggles and worries, we made the mistake of not seeking a restraining order in time against Mayra. I say in time because not doing so was taken as a weakness from Mayra, who had the sickening gall to file one against Tery. We hired the services of an attorney, which in retrospect was also an unfortunate mistake. I say that for three main reasons. One, we were so smashed down in so many ways that we went into a panic anticipating, or at least figuring, we had to allow for the worst. And the worst would mean Mayra would be able to abuse us to no end with complete impunity, ruin what may be left of our lives, and Tery would essentially have a record with numerous potential ramifications, including but not limited to how the police could potentially approach or assess Tery over what would normally be a simple issue of no consequences. Of course, Jay and the neighbors would harp about and capitalize on Mayra winning an RO against them. It would have effectively been the choice of us going to the streets or living in constant fear of Mayra while she was free to go about the activities Stacy complained to Jay about, call us bitch, blast music, bang on our walls, lean over from her balcony to ours, and torment us while we are in the unit we call home, and see Tery, in his condition, get hauled off to jail if he dared to say anything to her, or if she and any of her supporting neighbors said he did. And of course, I would be next. 2. As many of you may know, in addition to their obnoxiousness, a lot of attorneys like to play fear porn, especially if they can see you're already beaten down, lack any sort of understanding of how the system works, and overwhelmed with worry. With this situation, we were worried that Mayra would come with fake witnesses, such as Steve and Eric, whom we figured would have a lot of weight in what would already be a shallow assessment of the situation, especially if Tery had a biased judge, which we believe turned out to be the case. I say this based on a lot of facts I will try to cover in a future video. Although Mayra was denied the restraining order, the whole ordeal was absolutely hellacious for us and intensely affected us physically, emotionally, and financially. 3. Our attorney, Bob Farrahan, who initially just tried to get Mayra to dismiss the case after he took our money, said after Mayra's RO was over that we had absolutely no chance of being awarded court costs. But when we told him about Eric's attorney demanding $3,000 now or paying $6,000 later, Bob told us that it would be cheaper to pay Eric's attorney the $3,000 now. In addition, he wasn't interested in helping us going forward either. Like many attorneys, it seemed to us that he resented the fact that we did not continue to pay him for more of nothing. I take the liberty to say this and more about this matter later, because when we had a little bit of an opportunity to think about it, Tery, as mentioned in another video, basically had no contact with Mayra for years. In good conscience, the first question Bob should have asked should have been, when was the last time and under what circumstances did you have any contact with this person? And after getting Tery's answer, again in good conscience, should have said that he didn't even need an attorney, A consultation perhaps, but that should have been it. And to make the irony that much more disturbing, weeks prior to Marshall knocking on the door at 6:15 a.m. on New Year's Eve, I had finally tried to start working on putting together evidence for a restraining order against Mayra. Mayra chose Tery to file her RO against because she knew he was vulnerable and that he would have a difficult time dealing with it, which he did. Shortly before I filed ROs against Eric and Mayra made it apparent that she was working on another RO against one of us, likely Tery again. As we said to Jay in an email, Mayra is targeting us by turning her music up and down, banging against our adjoining wall, and saying foul things to us. This was for the purpose of antagonizing us so she could file another RO and or use her twisted narrative to get us evicted. By happenstance, on January 24th, 2026, I noticed Mayra and Michael huddling around their door in what at the time seemed to be in an unusual manner. Normally, with normal neighbors, neither Tery or I would not have given it a second thought. But given our past history, our immediate concern was that they were brazen enough, especially with the support of Eric and others, to once again falsify evidence for a RO and or criminal charges against one or both of us. My immediate reaction, as I expect would be with a lot of people in my position, was to get evidence of them in the process of falsifying evidence again. Neither Tery nor I could care less if they have cameras or not, but we have a concern, right, and obligation to protect ourselves against anyone who continues to perpetrate a crime against us. In reality, powerful logic, video evidence, and an overwhelming preponderance of evidence leaves it near impossible, if not impossible, not to conclude that if the truth and nothing but the truth were told, Michael and Mayra would be already in jail. Yet, according to Eric, as a concerned citizen exercising his legal right, he photographed and filmed us at will because he was worried about the safety in the building and had so much concern about and how we were harassing Mayra. There are three things I'd like to mention that are very peculiar here. 1. We only found out exactly which neighbors were saying what after we received the 5 affidavits from Eric's attorney, submitted in his response to the RO and as one of his evidence. Based on the date of the filing, Eric and his attorney were able to put together all of these affidavits in a few days or less. To us, this sure does arise the likelihood that this whole ordeal against us was in the making for a long time. Even in an email to Jay about Eric taking pictures of me, we said that Eric is trying to set up things up for another gang up for the purpose of getting us evicted. Unfortunately, so far, Jay and the neighbors not only keep proving our point, but also feel pretty confident about getting away with doing so. 2. Up until Eric and Mayra were served, things continued to worsen. For example, Eric would often smash his door shut as I passed. On one occasion, when he did this, I heard him yell, "Get the fuck out of here, you ugly," something or the other that I didn't quite catch. And his alarm from the window camera he installed kept going off as I passed. I don't recall him either slamming his door shut or his alarm going off for anyone else who passed by. 3. As of now, after Eric and Mayra were served, and especially after we were served with an eviction notice, everything and everyone in our building went quiet. Quiet in a way that had things been this way in the first place, there never would have been any problems. On 1/21/2026, we called the police because Mayra was blasting music again. When they came, Eric asked them to come to his unit so he could talk to them. After talking to us, the police officers talked to Eric for a fairly long time. Then the police came back to our unit, and one of the officers suggested that I file a restraining order against Eric and then one against Mayra. In conclusion of this video, I finally did what so many people suggested and sought a restraining order. A restraining order that, according to the guidelines and criteria necessary, I not only had the right to file, but also a legal recourse of some kind was my only option. Obviously, we should have been the ones to file a restraining order against Mayra in the first place. And if anyone were entitled to court costs and had grounds to sue for malicious prosecution, it was us with Mayra's RO against Tery. Then again, we didn't have an aggressive attorney and several liars behind us. In this post, I will show a video of when I was waiting inside my unit for the police. And after Mayra drove drunk and high so she could buy more beer, Mayra insulted Tery and I as she walked by our door. Suffice to say, there were no signs of Eric for this. Thanks for watching, and I hope you continue.
I don't need you to spy on me. Well, if you have a problem with me, then you be husband to talk to me.